Hey guys, Joe Dungo, Jolly Spark Cinema. If you're going to make videos, you got to manage files. Can't lose them, ever. So we're going to go through some simple tips and tricks on how to organize and structure your files to where you'll never ever lose one. Be right back. Either way you look at it, if you're in school and you lose your files, you scramble at the last minute, try to put something together, and your grade reflects the quality of the work, which is not good. Your grade suffers. If you're doing this for a living and you can't keep track of your videos, you're losing money, you're scrambling at the last minute, your pay needs to reflect that, or better yet, you don't even want to work together with me because it would be crazy. You know what I mean? If someone's paying for you to create video, the time and expense and the props and the lighting and all the gear, just keeping that circus going, and you lose the footage, it's just bad file management. So adopt some better practices. Come up with a strategy. I'm going to show you a simple strategy that I use to organize my projects. You don't have to use my strategy. Obviously, it's a free country, but you might want to you got to have some kind of strategy to organize your files. You've got to organize them some way every time so you know where your files are, and then you'll never lose a file. Computer glitches or hard drive meltdowns, that's a whole different strategy and animal. We're just talking about, did you put it where you can find it? Did you put it where you can recover the file? Did you put it where it's supposed to be? People are counting on you to do that when you're working on video projects as a group, even as an individual, keeping track of your stuff. Okay, so we're going to create some folders to organize some projects. Just a real basic file management video organization system here on a PC. I realize you may be working on an Apple, but it's the same concept. So you go to File Manager. You're going to create some folders. First one we're going to create is a new folder. We're going to call it Original Project. The idea of creating an original project is that you can basically build this file structure, and then you can copy and paste the file structure whenever you want to start a new project. So inside the original project, you're going to create a new folder, and you're going to call it Assets. Now this is where we're going to put our videos, audio, pictures, images, and we're going to come back to it. So we're going to create another new folder, because we're creating 3 in this folder here. We've got Assets, and we need a place to put our project. So we're going to make a project folder, and we're going to create one more. And this is going to be our renders. So every time we render things off, we know where we're putting it. We know where our assets are, we know where the project is, and we know where the renders are. So inside the assets folder, we're going to go, and we're going to create 3 folders: audio, stills, and video. So the first one, we're just going to make a folder called audio. And then we're going to create another folder. We're going to call it stills. And we're going to create another folder. We're going to call it video. Okay, so in the audio folder, you guessed it, let's go to the music goes, or just specifically audio. Audio files, it's not that you can't sort them out, just an easy place to find them. You put them in there and you got it. So a lot of times I'll go through and pick out my music. I'll stash it in there. Stills, graphics, backgrounds, images, artwork, photographs, thumbnails, that's where that goes. And then your video folder, there you go. Obviously you put your videos inside, easy to find. You can back out a little bit, and you've got assets, project, renders, and original project. So again, original project is the folder, and I'll just rename it. I'll copy and paste this. So like if I copy it, and I paste it, I'm going to rename this File Management. And now I have a project folder for file management. Double click, I got my asset folder. So this is where I'm going to take the video, and I'm going to drop it in here. And so whenever I go to start my program, Adobe Premiere Pro, Final Cut, I'll log or map the project folder to the project folder. And then I will load from my media browser, I will load in my assets, which will be in these folders. If I go back, when I'm done and I export a rendering, I'll put it in this renders folder. And so I can easily find everything I've put in there, and I can find everything I've made for output. So using a PC, that's a simple structure to use. It works exactly the same way on a Mac. You create the folders, same nesting structure, you can copy and paste the projects. It's the exact same thing. I know it's a little different interface, but not really. It's all the same. If you're using Google Drive, it's a little more complicated. I don't think it allows you to copy file structure. You can copy folders, but not file structure. So if you're setting this up in Google Drive, you're going to have to manage it a little bit. You have to zip some things up, move things around. I don't know that Google Drive's the right way to do that, but it would be an effective way to manage your stuff. All right, AVC-HD, Kryptonite time. Sony has a codec. It's called AVC-HD. You may be, if you're using a Sony camera, you're using AVC-HD file codec. It's just a little different in managing the files. It's not one-to-one. Basically, Sony AVC-HD codec creates a file, and it puts all your clips into that folder. Whenever you get that folder and you take that SD card and you plug it into your computer, you're not going to get individual clips. You're going to get a collection of clips to go in that AVC-HD file. So here's what you're going to do. It's very simple. You're going to copy the AVC-HD. It's in the private folder. It automatically makes the structure on a Sony camera. Private folder, you're going to take the AVC-HD folder in your file folder. You're going to copy it. You're going to paste it on your computer. This is specifically probably on an Apple. You're going to rename that AVC-HD file because it thinks it's narcissistic. It thinks it's the only thing on the planet. So you've got to rename it to whatever you want it to be. Today, Sunday's filming, whatever project you're working on, some structure of naming, doesn't really matter as long as you name it something besides AVC-HD. It's going to turn into a folder. It was a file, now it's a folder. It's just keeping the kryptonite in safe. Don't mess with the stuff inside. I know there's ways to pull it apart, but just leave it all alone. Go to Premiere Pro, go to Final Cut Pro, and extract your files, load your files into the software. You've copied it off, it's secure, it's in a good place, you've renamed it, and so you can find which one. Now, it's video, so you're gonna copy it to your video folder that you just made on your computer. You're gonna rename it, it's gonna be there. Wiping the chip. All right, so I work in an environment where lots of people are using the same cameras over and over again. You're going to want to wipe the chip every time you get one of my chips because you don't know whose stuff is on there. Your job is to responsibly clean it off. Their job, whoever used it before, was to get their files, for file management's sake, off the chip and secured onto a computer. So, and that rotates through. Now that you've filmed something, your job is to get it off the chip so that somebody else can use the chip and they're going to wipe it. So you can't come back tomorrow and say, oh, I need that one chip. No, it's already been wiped. You're going to have to take care of it. So be responsible. Copy your files off the chip. Somebody else is going to wipe the chip. You don't have to wipe it for them. They're going to wipe it anyway. Just don't lose any files. Last but not least, don't put the SD card in your computer and then load the file into the software directly. You got to copy it to the file structure first. You made the file structure, you got to use the file structure. You copy it from the chip to the file structure, and then from the software you're going to open up the file structure and you're going to load from there. If you load it from the SD card, you're going to have a little bit of a problem. The computer's not going to be able to find that chip because you pulled the chip out. It's going to look for that file, and because you didn't take it from file structure, it can't find it. So always load from file structure, not the SD card. All right, so that's it. File structure in a nutshell. Try to have some kind of structure. Never lose a file. Be responsible with it. Always copy your stuff off of chips. So it's not sitting there and getting lost. You get multiple chips, multiple projects, big projects. No. You got to organize it. Have a system, and then never load from the chip. Night.